You ever see an entire courtroom just freeze like someone hit the pause button on reality? That's exactly what happened the moment the judge took off his glasses, rubbed the bridge of his nose, and said, "Dead serious, not even a hint of a joke. Based on the plats, deeds, and expert testimony presented, every single home in Sycamore Glen is built on land legally owned by Mr. Marcus Hale." Yeah, that's my name. And right then I'm sitting there blinking, trying not to laugh, while an entire neighborhood's worth of folks in polos and pearls and yoga pants just stare at me like I'd bought Sycamore Glen on eBay. It was the wildest plot twist nobody saw coming, least of all me. Now you gotta picture it. Lorna Pendleton, HOA president, full-time busybody and part-time tyrant. She jumps to her feet, voice cracking like a dropped teacup. "That is impossible, Your Honor," she yells. "Sycamore Glen is a planned community. He can't own our subdivision. He's barely on the Architectural Compliance Committee." The judge just slides this official-looking stamped order toward his clerk and without even blinking goes, "He does now. Actually, he has for the last 12 years. And then he turns to me and says, "Mr. Hale, this also means the HOA's fines liens and attempts to enforce removal of your fence were done while they themselves were trespassing on your land." I nodded, just trying to keep a straight face. Inside, I'm thinking, did that just happen? The judge adds bone dry, "I'd strongly suggest Sycamore Glen's HOA stop telling Mr. Hale what to do with property that as of 10 minutes ago has been judicially confirmed as all his." Behind me, someone whispers, "Does that mean we pay him now?" I didn't answer. I just let that question hang in the air like a thundercloud. Honestly, all I wanted was a little privacy, some peace. And let's be real, a fence that wasn't the color of wet cardboard. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm a systems engineer, work from home grill, a mean steak, play way too much chess online, and my proudest achievement is never once commenting on our neighborhood Facebook group. I bought this oddball corner lot at the edge of Sycamore Glen, 2 miles outside town, because it came with this weird bonus, a chunk of land twice the size of everyone else's yard, thanks to some leftover farm boundary nobody bothered to sort out. The realtor called it a greenbelt buffer. I called it extra room for a decent fence. But if you took a Pinterest board, made it walk, gave it a god complex, you'd have Lorna, early 50s, blonde bob, so sharp it could cut glass, permanent tan, about one shade too orange, and a smile that says, "You leave your trash out at 7:29 p.m. and I will write you up." She met me on day 3, handed me a basket of gluten-free brownies and a binder of rules thick enough to serve as a doorstop in a hurricane. "We're very serious about property values here," she said, pinning a neon post-it with her cell on the front cover. "If you have any questions, text me. Paint colors, landscaping, holiday displays, text me. The Architectural Compliance Committee is here to help." I nodded, took the binder, and spent that night half watching a documentary and skimming Sycamore Glen's never-ending list of do's and don'ts. No boats in the driveway, no chain-link fences, no above-ground pools, mailboxes, all identical. You get the idea. It sounded strict but manageable. That is until I submitted my fence plans. All I wanted was a 6-foot privacy fence, back and sides stained a warm cedar, instead of the HOA-approved driftwood beige number E02, which looked like sadness and primer had a baby. I sent in everything: survey drawings, stain sample, contractor info. 2 days later, my first denial arrived. "The ACC cannot approve your fence as submitted. The stain does not match the community standard." And the proposed placement extends into what Sycamore Glen has designated as community open space. Attached was a PDF of the approved color, a washed-out beige that could make you weep. I replied, "Hi, Lorna." The attached county survey and my recorded deed show my lot extending 35 feet beyond the back of pad line. That's not community open space, it's my parcel. Also, your rules say neutral earth tones. Cedar is an earth tone. Best Marcus. Never got a response. Instead, I got my first violation notice a week later. Infraction: unauthorized construction fence posts observed in non-approved area. Remedy: remove unapproved construction, or the HOA will pursue legal remedies including fines and liens. She'd taken a picture of my contractor's stake string line and called it construction. So I called her up. "Hey, Lorna, nothing's built yet. Those are survey stakes." "Well, they're in the common area," she snaps. "You can't just steal land from the HOA, Marcus. It's not a buffet." "That's my lot, Lorna. No, it's Greenbelt. Always has been. The developer promised open space. The signs say homes backing to nature. The county says it's my lot." She pauses just long enough to let me know she doesn't care what the county says. "If you fight the HOA on this, Marcus, it will get very expensive for you. We're not afraid to lean." That week, I got violations for trash can visible from street. It was out for 12 minutes, inconsistent mulch color. I ran out of black and used dark brown behind a bush, and improper vehicle storage, my brother's truck, in my driveway overnight. This wasn't about a fence. This was about control. So I did what nobody like Lorna expects. Besides just rolling over, I read everything. Deeds, plats, easements, the original subdivision agreement. That's when I found the glitch in the matrix. On paper, my parcel tract A3 was an L-shaped monster that wrapped behind a whole row of Sycamore Glen lots and actually ran under half their backyards. The developer had subdivided everything to death, but somehow never properly split off my tract. Every house behind me was, by the letter of the law, sitting on land that belonged to me. I took this stack of research to a real estate attorney, Janine. She had that calm, slightly dangerous energy you only get from someone who enjoys lawsuits a little too much. She spread it all out on the conference table, gave it a once-over, and goes, "Marcus, forget the fence. You own half their backyards. Unless someone fixes this, you technically own the land under an entire phase of Sycamore Glen." I sat there kind of stunned. That can't be right. She flipped to the HOA's own documents. "Oh, it's right. Developer recorded the CC&R, sold the houses, formed the HOA, but never properly conveyed this underlying tract to the subdivision plat. The HOA's been acting like it owns this common area, but legally they don't. So what do? We file for quiet title and ask a judge to confirm what the records already show, that you, not the HOA, own tract A3. And then what?" She gave this tiny, dangerous smile. "Then technically the HOA is built on your dirt, which makes their little letter about trespass by fence hilariously ironic." We filed. And Lorna. She doubled down exactly like Janine said she would. The HOA's lawyer sent me a letter accusing me of attempting to steal community land, warning of aggressive legal action, and my favorite, demanding I remove my encroaching fence, which still didn't exist. Then they did something so stupid it was almost impressive. They filed a lien for unpaid fence fines, using the wrong legal description. They didn't just lien my house lot, they liened all of tract A3. On paper, the HOA had just filed a claim against the land under half their own subdivision. By the time our quiet title hearing rolled around, things were already ridiculous. It was circus level. On one side, me and Janine with our neat stack of 40 years worth of records. On the other, the HOA's lawyer Lorna sitting behind him, arms crossed so hard she was practically vibrating. Janine walked the court through every plat, deed, subdivision plan, GIS printout, and then dropped the bomb, showing the judge that the HOA's own lien used the legal description for tract A3. In other words, Sycamore Glen's HOA has asserted a claim against land Mr. Hale owns, and that includes the ground beneath multiple homes. The county's mapping specialist, subpoenaed and obviously annoyed, confirmed every word. The HOA's lawyer tried to argue intent that everyone had always treated this land as common area. The judge wasn't having it. The developer isn't here. The records are, and they say Mr. Hale owns it. Then he turns to Lorna. "Mrs. Pendleton, did Mr. Hale present you with documents indicating his property extended beyond the back of pad line?" She looked like she wanted the floor to open up. "Well, he sent things, but people send things all the time. If residents could just interpret." "Did you read them?" Silence. Then I skim them, Your Honor. I'm a volunteer. I don't have time to play amateur surveyor every time someone wants to paint their door chartreuse. So when presented with credible evidence that your HOA was overstepping its authority, you ignored it. Then your organization recorded a lien that, intentionally or not, claimed an interest in land beneath multiple residences your HOA doesn't own. Their attorney tried to jump in, but the judge just shut him down. You will sit down and listen while I explain how property law works. And then in about 10 minutes, he did exactly that. Signed the order quieting title in my favor with one tap of his pen, flipped the whole neighborhood upside down. The fallout was instant. Screenshots of the court order hit the group chat before the ink was dry. Does this mean Marcus owns my yard? Can he make us move? Is this like that thing where Disney owns Lake Buena Vista? The HOA's insurer called an emergency meeting. They brought me and Janine in too. The insurance guy looked like he hadn't smiled since 2003. Your board will immediately release the lien on Mr. Hale's property. He said, issue a written apology and cease all enforcement actions regarding his fence. Furthermore, you will cooperate with the process of negotiating easement and ground lease agreements with Mr. Hale for the portions of land under the homes. Lorna sputtered, we can't just let him hold the whole neighborhood hostage. This is extortion. No, the insurance guy said this is consequences for your failure to exercise basic due diligence. Then he turns to me. Our client would like to propose a global settlement. The HOA would pay all my legal fees, admit their error fund new surveys, compensate me for granting permanent ground leases under existing homes, plus a premium for the trouble. In exchange, I wouldn't attempt to evict anyone or interfere with their occupancy. Janine gives me the tiniest nod. That's reasonable, I said, on 2 conditions. The insurance guy sighs. Of course. First, the HOA publicly abandons all enforcement authority over anything on my parcel, fence yard, paint color, you name it. My property is exempt from all rules. The room goes so quiet you can hear Lorna gasp, like I'd suggested building a pig farm in her living room. Second, Mrs. Pendleton resigns as president and is permanently barred from serving on the board again. In writing. All eyes turn to her. You can't be serious, she whispers. I gave my life to this community. The insurance guy finally looks almost human. Lorna, this is the best deal you're going to get. The alternative is years of litigation you'll lose. She opens her mouth and shuts it. The insurer, furious about the whole mess, goes after her personally for negligence. The final tally, $87,000. That's what Lorna owes personally for legal fees and settlement costs. She goes white as paper, hands shaking. $87,000, she whispers. That's not possible. I'm a volunteer. The insurance guy snaps his folder shut. You were a volunteer with fiduciary responsibilities. You ignored evidence, filed an improper lien, and cost this HOA substantial damages. You're personally liable for the mess you caused. Lorna looked around the room, waiting for someone to say this was a joke. Nobody did. For the first time since I'd met her, she had nothing to say. And you know what? I almost felt bad. Almost. So here's my question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have settled or would you have pushed for more? Is it justice if the people in charge never have to face real consequences? Or is it just another day in the HOA circus? Drop your thoughts below, because after living through this, I'm not sure there's a right answer. And if you've ever tangled with a homeowners association, you already know sometimes the fence is just the beginning. If you've got a story, hit that subscribe button, share your saga, and let's hear what you'd have done, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's ended up owning more than just a backyard.